Isang pinagpala at magandang araw po sa inyong lahat. So both of our readings today, the first reading, an excerpt from the book of the prophet Ezekiel, and from Mathhew, that's chapter 19, verses 3 to 12, both speak about covenant. A covenant is a sacred agreement between two parties. Maganda po sa Tagalog, tipan, pakikipagtipan. At pag sinabi mong katipan ko siya, you are talking a particular beloved, a person to whom you have committed yourself. Kaya, one track mind, kailang dalawa, because it is a sacred agreement, it's a sacred contract. So, what we heard in the first reading is one of the, maybe can be considered the greatest narrative regarding covenant renewal. So we heard how the Lord told Ezekiel to tell the people, God always takes the initiative to make a covenant with man, and it's based on love and trust. And yet we know throughout history, as the first reading tells us, God has always been faithful, and it's man who becomes unfaithful. And yet, in spite of man's infidelity, God will always be faithful, will always be true to His word, to take care of His beloved. And so this should make us all the more appreciate God's goodness every time we attend Mass, we offer the Mass, because we renew our commitment, our response to God. In the Gospel, again, it's about commitment, covenant in marriage. And Jesus reminds us that it should reflect, it should mirror the covenant of God with man. It is one of love and trust. It is one of sacrifice. We know how God offered His Son unselfishly to again renew to that covenant He has made with man, so that He could remedy man's infidelity. So napaganda pong alahalahanin yan, no? Marriage should be a reflection of God's covenant with man. It is one of love and trust. So even if there is a failure on the part of one party in a covenant in marriage, they should look at Christ. They should look at God. In spite of man's infidelity, God would always be faithful. So yan po ang basihan. Hindi lamang sa pagtipan na mag-asawa sa sakramento ng matrimonyo, lalaki, babae. Tatlo, nandun ang Diyos. So sometimes it's good to remember that. I remember a priest, every time he would celebrate a wedding, he will give a cross to the bride and groom, which they should take home. And in case they have some misunderstanding, they should get that cross and put it on top of their bed, reminding them that things should be settled before they rest. So, my dear friends, today again, we renew our covenant with the loving and a merciful God. We try to check how generous are we in responding to this covenant, since God cannot be outdone in generosity. How generous are you in your covenant with a loving God who loves you, who trusts you unlimitedly. Amen.